So I'm going to do one more before I go to bed. I felt compelled to, and it's pretty heavy energy, and it also has to do with relationships, and a relationship in particular, which isn't typical of my reading, but I'm going to roll with it because I really felt pulled to do this. Um, and per usual, I'm going to focus on your inner experience and not necessarily about what's going on outside of you, what somebody else is doing, thinking, because that's not what it's about. We have five of stones here. Endurance, crowned by Daisy. I'm going to clarify that. Thank you. Trust. There's been a loss. There's been a loss, and that's what Daisy represents. I don't think it's a I checked out of life kind of loss. But it is a loss. And we're in this Five of Stones place. Although this card is rather unique because she's not, cold and in tatters and outside a church. She's warm. She's got this fire that she's tending. She's got this warm fur wrapped around her and a protective cave. And the storm is raging over here. But the energy that I get from this, is it feels a lot worse than it actually is. Yes, there has been loss. Um, yes, you are on your own. And yes, there's a storm raging, but you're also warm and sheltered. And you don't have to go down, you don't have to head back into the storm or even wait it out. And I feel like you feel like you're just waiting it out alone. Have you thought about going down the other side of the mountain where the storm isn't? I hear there's a lot of flowers in that valley. The background of this is Page of Vessels, Otter, crowned by Verbena. And Verbena, just because you're patching over a rocky situation doesn't mean you have to give up your agency in order to achieve an agreement. Stand your ground and make sure that you're heard too. I feel like this is a situation where maybe you did stand your ground and that led to this loss. And trust is the card that came up there. And I think you're wondering where to put your trust. But I also think you've had a pattern of experiences where you felt either compelled to or coerced or forced to give up more than you really wanted to in order to come to an agreement, which isn't coming to an agreement. It is coercion. It is in order to satisfy somebody else, in order to make somebody else happy. The Page of Vessels, the otter, is kind of unserious too, and there's this beautiful, there's this beautiful river, very quickly flowing river, and so I think maybe two things. I think you tend to have emotions that flare up and overwhelm you very quickly. And so when it comes to being serious and really diving into the heart of the matter, I don't think you allow yourself, because you're afraid of getting swept up very quickly. I also think you've been in a lot of situations where you've had to compromise people. The Page of Vessels is here is is non-committal, is very casual, is very carefree, and I say careless, but not in a bad way, not in a super negative way, but there is a bit of carelessness here, in that we're not really exploring the depth of things, and so it's about comfort over our own heart's desires. And I really feel like there was a decision made here that led to an ending. And now you're feeling crumbling. And now you're feeling alone and out in the cold. You feel like you've made the wrong choice because you're alone and because it's difficult. But just because it's difficult and it doesn't feel good doesn't mean you didn't make the right choice. I think you're just having a really hard time processing your emotions and regulating them and getting in touch with them. They're uncomfortable. And so instead of really looking at things, you're avoiding them. And I also think that in the past, that's led you to avoid seeing patterns of things falling apart or being detrimental to your well-being or your goals and your dreams without really you haven't really looked at that. It's sort of in denial. It's like a denial of the truth of the matter because it's easier on your delicate heart. And now you're overwhelmed by this intense emotion. You feel alone, you feel separated, you feel isolated. But you're not. But you're not. I think you just haven't figured out how to sort that through yet. And part of that problem is because you're avoiding it and trying to stay comfortable when, truthfully, instead of going, you can stay in this cave, you can wait for that storm to pass. I don't know if that storm is going to pass. Or if it does, there's another one that's coming. I think what you need to do is look at walking down the other side of the mountain and moving on somewhere different that actually has a better reputation. Take that if it resonates. This is an interesting Five of Cups card, Five of Vessels, Ecstasy. And I love this card because, the Five of Cups in every other deck is so heavy, but this one takes it a step further. And so we have taken that loss and we've transmuted it into power and independence and beauty and joy and ecstasy for ourselves. And I feel like you're really craving something. Crowned with holly and focus. Holly is a plant of peace that represents balance and recentering. This card is encouraging you to meditate, take a walk, have a bath, do whatever makes you feel more relaxed. This time is for you. There's a lot of intense emotions in this reading. There's a lot of cups. There's the sun. We've got Page of Cups, Four of Cups, Five of Stones. Things are feeling overwhelming, so it's time to sit back and focus on yourself. Spending time reacquainting your body and your mind isn't a selfish act. Through balancing yourself and becoming more self-aware, you're better positioned to help the others who you're worrying about. Interesting. I feel like there's a disconnection here, body and mind, and that is because your feelings are overwhelming. I think in general your feelings are overwhelming. And you get lost in that and need to ground, focus. I let go of distractions and remain present. And one of the best things to do, one of the best things that I love to do is get out in nature and take a walk. Get outside, move, dance, something. You need to transmute this pain and instead of sitting in it and let it consume you, you need to be able to process that. Somatically is great if you can dance, if you can ride your bike, if you can take a long walk, whatever, or just shake it out in your living room. Like literally just shake it out. There's some grounding that needs to happen here with your body so that your mind can think more clearly, because right now you are really struggling to see the forest for the trees because you're so overwhelmed with the intensity of this situation falling apart. And instead of, this situation falling apart and you saying, well, I can't trust anybody anymore. I can't trust myself. I don't know what to do. Gosh, Archangel Gabriel sitting here in front of me saying trust. An angel face saying balance. Instead of punishing your entire future based on one situation from the past, Spirit is recommending that you work to ground and get in touch with those emotions. In DBT, you learn that the more that you resist feeling things, the worse it gets. And that's true. Instead of resisting what it is we're feeling and resisting that intensity, it's about accepting it and acknowledging it for what it is. When we accept it and acknowledge it, it takes the charge off of it because we're not fighting to change it. And so it seems like we've got a lot of pent up emotions, a lot of things that we were afraid to dive into for a long time. And you are really being encouraged to do your best to lean into acceptance of what it is you're feeling and transmute that into movement, into art, into creativity. This is the outcome here. We've got the Sun of Life. We've got Oak, again, with lightning behind it. Much like that first card, and then creativity on top. And the lightning right through that acorn says to me transmutation, and you may be in the process of this. Oak this is a card of strength. It's a card of endurance. The oak tree being struck by lightning over and over. Due to their great height, oak trees are most likely to be struck by lightning, making them sacred to ancient gods of thunder, such as Zeus, Perun, and Thor. Yet despite this propensity, the mighty oak stands strong and unyielding in times of adversity. One thing I think maybe is to channel the adversity into creativity and really work that out. That is also going to help you find a place of acceptance with it instead of fighting against what it is you're feeling. Allow yourself to feel it, but you don't have to sit there and let it explode in your body, which is very overwhelming to you. You may be a highly sensitive person, something like that. You're very sensitive to energy, something like that, but you're also a lot stronger than you give yourself credit for. Can you channel that into creativity? Can you channel that into art or writing or something that allows you to put that intense feeling and intense energy into a project, into something, so that you're not carrying it? And I think that's very important for you right now. 4 vessels, boredom, crowned with the alder, and grounded. I remain rooted and connected. What did I say about needing to ground? There's all of these emotions being whipped up. There's a lot of loss. There's a lot of past situations popping up in our head because what we're going through now is very reminiscent of things that have happened in the past, but it is not the same situation, not the same people, not the same anything. Whatever it is that you've dealt with people in the past, in terms of really needing to give up more than you were comfortable with or wanted to in order to please them. This is a point of transformation and a point of shift for you. It's time to ground that in, and it's time to really look at yourself and be like, you know what? Even if I am alone, I'm really damn strong. I'm still here. I have endured through all of this stuff. And not only that, there may be a storm raging, but am I out in the cold? Not really. I found a cave. I've got this fur blanket wrapped around me. I've made a fire. Resourceful, creative, more than you give yourself credit for. 4 of Cups, boredom. See what Alder says. Whether your social network includes birds or not, There is what mine does. There is value in teamwork and the things that you can learn from others. Is there someone in your life you'd like to know, excuse me, you'd like to be closer with, but don't know how? Now is a time in which opening up to them and sharing your thoughts will help you to achieve that and build on the relationship. And this is where you need to ground, because all of these emotions are everywhere. You can't approach somebody with, emotional bull coming out. You need to ground and you need to focus. You need to understand how strong you really are, because there's a lot that you've put up with. There's a lot you've had to work through. There's a lot of intensity of feeling here that you're dealing with. And you're still here. You're still at it. You're in a cave with a damn fire and a blanket you found. And when the sun comes up, maybe you should take a look down the other side of the mountain at that valley, because again, I think there's flowers there. The Four Vessels, this is speaking to me too. There is a lot of intensity here. There's a lot of people who mistake intensity for connection, who mistake excitement and fireworks for connection and intimacy, when it is simply a warning from your body. Love isn't something that whips you up into a frenzy, nor should it ever be like that. That's adrenaline. Why does your body release adrenaline? Well, because there's some sort of risk or threat. Love is stable. Love is secure. It makes you feel safe. It makes you feel grounded. It makes you feel at peace. And a lot of people end up missing out on real love because they think it should be fireworks and all this garbage that Hollywood put in our head that isn't even real, that is actually very unhealthy. But compared to real love feels boring. But it's grounded and stable, and it's something that you can depend on, and it's something that is there, and it's something that has your back, and it's something that wouldn't leave you in a cave on a cliff somewhere, even with a blanket and an ability to make a fire. But I think there's also something here about you needing to lean into that independence and ground and transmute and really, move from that heartbreak into that divine power, knowing that that's in you at all times, whether you are alone or whether you are partnered. And every single one of these cards has one figure on it. And so that really speaks to your inner strength, which you're having a hard time seeing because you're feeling a lot of emotion. And just because you're feeling a lot of emotion and it doesn't feel good doesn't mean you're doing something wrong or that you did something wrong. It means it's time to process this and ground that down. So I really highly recommend leaning into your creativity in order to sort this out and give yourself the ability to focus on where it is you really want to be and who it is that you really want to be with. And I would recommend not going backwards, because there is still a storm raging in the distance down there, and you don't want to end up in the same situation that you were, going around and around and around. And regardless of how strong you are, you don't feel very strong. That fell right on Verbena. You've learned something here about what you want and what you don't want. And you are growing stronger in every minute. And there is something very potent within you that's about to hatch. What is it that we need to know with the advice in order to release that? It's talking about not feeling bored. Luna. Ah, okay. So your intuition is actually very dampened and silenced by all the intensity of this emotion. What you're feeling viscerally inside your body is not your intuition. It is it's your own body's reaction. Intuition is very quiet. It's very matter of fact. It speaks very silently, and then that's it. It's sort of like, this is a good thing, and then it's done. It is not the butterflies in your stomach. It is not the gut wrench when you've lost something. That's a sign from your body, and that's data that you can interpret and figure out what it's trying to tell you, but it's not your intuition, and you need to know the difference. Start working out some of the intensity of this emotion inside of yourself and lean into, maybe you can make a little secret clubhouse out of that cool cave you found and have your own little private time there. And when the time is right, maybe you'll have somebody to invite there with you. That's all. Love you. Bye.